Yeah, I just followed my inspiration, Meghan Markle.
She's very sad here. She lives in Montecito now. That's by the ocean. That's the blue behind her as she's crying. The ocean, the Pacific Ocean. She's sad.
They step up to the mic, wearing that electric grin that comedians get when they sense an opportunity. The first punch lands hard, aimed straight for the jugular. Picture sending a duchess and her polo-loving prince to one of the world's most dangerous war zones. A comic sneers, relishing the pause, as if castle life is just so unbearable. The audience erupts before they even grasp the geography lesson, their collective gasp igniting a wildfire of laughter because the joke cuts deeper than anyone anticipated. I think we should send Meghan Markle and that lizard she married to Gaza. They have a 3-hour Netflix documentary about how tough it is to live in a castle. 3 hours. Heat meets gasoline as the same comic doubles down, painting a vivid picture of Meghan binge-watching her own documentary while a Syrian child with a missing arm begs for a moment of empathy. Even the bartender is caught off guard, slamming a hand on the counter to keep from spilling drinks as the roast barrels forward. The irony? Every laugh is tinged with shock that someone finally voiced what half the internet only whispers in comment threads. Then comes the celebrity curveball, an offstage whisper that Beyoncé herself somehow ended up in Meghan's text chain. Before the juicy details can unfold, another comic leans into the mic, pretending to dab a tear. Poor Duchess, they sigh, dripping with sarcasm, having to juggle sympathy texts from Queen Bee while gazing at the Pacific from her Montecito window. The roar of disbelief nearly drowns out the setup. Beyoncé just texted me. I can't believe she knows who I am. Read it! Oh no, I could never read a personal message. Momentum builds as the spotlight shifts to another performer, who straight-facedly tackles the pronunciation saga. Meghan, Mugan, Mehigan. They rattle off variations like a deranged phonetics lesson, landing on a self-styled Mehigan that detonates laughter in the room. The underlying jab? If your own name causes brand confusion, how can you expect the rest of us to buy into your private life narrative? Oh, it's so funny. You don't know my name. It's pronounced Mayan Sussex. I'm Sussex now. Yeah, I have the same last name as the kids. To cap the opening blitz, a mock lifestyle guru appears, swirling a mason jar of backyard spring water like it's liquid gold. They warn the crowd, deadpan, that tap water is strictly forbidden in Sussex land. The absurdity transforms into a standing ovation because nothing screams relatability like artisanal H2O for your gas. How I prepare water for my gas. The comedians have already torched humanitarian optics, name vanity, and luxury hydration all within the first few minutes. But buckle up. We haven't even cracked open that supposedly private Beyoncé message or the explosive brand fiasco simmering off stage. That bombshell text is about to leak, and the naming chaos it triggers will leave the royal rebrand in ashes. Yet that's just the beginning. The house lights dim enough for the next comic to glide on stage, clutching a phone like it's the Holy Grail. Y'all, Beyoncé just texted, they whisper, voice shaking in mock awe. The crowd leans in, phones already up to capture the moment, and the comic milks every millisecond, glancing at that glowing screen like a tabloid editor eyeing an unretouched royal photo. Another performer glides on stage, wrapped in a couture sweater slung artfully across their shoulders. They sigh drearily. Don't you just love throwing a cashmere over your collarbones while prepping organic rosemary jam for the children? A stunned hush falls, then gales of guffaws because few parents can picture toddlers clamoring for artisanal rosemary before dawn. And then I use the stuff to create candles for like an, oh, I forgot something. Just when the snorts die down, a familiar, how I prepare water, guru reemerges, clutching a crystal pitcher. They deadpan. Step 1, never use tap water. It insults the spiritual integrity of your gas. The punchline splashes over the front row like holy water, highlighting the absurd gap between $5 spring myths and real-world thirst. Some water that I got from the spring in my backyard. Whatever you do, don't use tap water. I'm just going to sneak a taste. You flower puddle. To top it off, a final comedian bursts forth, waving zip-top bags. Need a snack? Simply move store-brand crackers from one labeled bag into another labeled bag, they chirp, labeling motions so exaggerated it feels like interpretive dance. My kids always beg, "More kale, mommy of Sussex." The ridiculous image of kale-obsessed royal offspring hurls the audience into another laughing fit. Don't you just love throwing a sweater over your shoulders? It's just darling. And I prepared this yesterday. As you all know, I'm all about the jam. Picture it, one murmurs, voice velvet and vicious, silk robes slipping off a shoulder, ocean glittering like a sapphire runway, and our Duchess clutching her phone, weeping about how misunderstood she is. The crowd snickers because rich people tears taste strangely like imported sea salt. Anyway, she's very sad here. She lives in Montecito now. That's by the ocean. That's the blue behind her as she's crying. The ocean. The Pacific Ocean. She's sad. The second comic flourishes a glossy brochure plastered with price tags. Spring water at $10 a jug. Jam jars nearing $100 a pop. Sheet sets pricier than most folks rent. They shake the brochure as though dusting off delusion itself. Then, gazing back at the first performer, they purr, "Remind me, how many B's does it take to justify that honey label again?" Laughter erupts, equal parts disbelief and delight. The absurd arithmetic makes the pity narrative buckle under its own gold-plated weight. The first comic leans forward, eyes sparkling with mischief. Remember the lifestyle brand shuffle, TIG, orchard to as ever. Each reboot promising authenticity, each one arriving with another zero in the cost column. They flip an invisible calculator, shrugging. Funny how privacy costs so much when it is mass-marketed as exclusivity. The crowd howls, sensing each glossy launch drifting further from reality and deeper into parody. Momentum crackles. The second comic lowers their voice to a conspiratorial whisper. Insiders allege pallets of those rechristened jam jars are still sitting in a climate-controlled warehouse. They tease because relabeling does nothing if fans cannot stomach the markup. Then, with a flourish worthy of a royal decree, they slam the brochure shut and flick it aside. But it's like, it's like food, beauty, wellness, home decor. A hush lingers, broken by the soft clink of ice in studio cocktails. It feels like a collective exhale. Audience and comics united in the realization that every sun-kissed photo op, every heartfelt interview, every tear shimmering against ocean blue might just be a marketing expense. Sympathy, once carefully cultivated, now lies beached and bleached, stripped of its emotional high tide. But do not tuck those napkins away yet. One last comedic cannon still smolders backstage. An all-out firestorm aimed at every glass and steel wall encasing that Montecito fortress. In the final round, punchlines rain like meteor showers. Names and numbers collide, and the royal pity parade meets its loudest, longest drum roll. Stay right where you are. The knockout blow is seconds away. The lights snap back to blazing white, and a comic strides center stage, wielding a mic stand like a royal scepter. They inhale, let the hush grow thick, then drop the voice to a velvet murmur. "We have talked castles, curtsies, kale, and kitchen table capitalism," they say, flicking imaginary dust from a silk lapel. "So here it is, friends, the very last jewel in this crown of contradictions." They lean forward, eyes sparkling. Imagine crossing an ocean, marrying into history, promising a legacy of compassion, only to become the world's favorite punchline. When late-night hosts need easy applause, the audience tenses, waiting for the kill shot. The room explodes in laughter so loud it rattles cocktail glasses. Even the house band whoops along, banging out a rim shot that ricochets off the back wall. The performer lets the roar crest, then raises a single brow. "Remember," they add, voice dripping sincerity so thick it borders on parody, "none of this would sting if the Duchess had not spent every red carpet moment insisting privacy was the only currency she craved while selling jam at champagne prices and trademarking a signature bow." This is branding life, branding stuff, so we understand it can be hard to name your brand. The last laugh swells rich and raw, then fades into a hush that feels almost reverent until the first comic breaks it with a grin so wide it could eclipse the stage lights. Look, love her or loathe her, the Duchess has given comedians a lifetime supply of material. But here's the real kicker. Every newly minted punchline is another plea for empathy that backfires bigger than the one before. They let the irony settle, then tip the mic forward like offering a toast. Because sometimes the loudest drum roll at the royal pity parade is played by the very people who marched in it. A breath of silence, then applause thunder. Spotlights fade to gold as the comics take their bows, leaving a stage littered with punchlines, price tags, and half-peeled labels. The pity narrative lies in pieces, but the debate over authenticity versus opportunism is just heating up. So, tell me, do you think the Sussex saga is a comedy of errors or a strategic masterclass in keeping the spotlight burning? Like, subscribe and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.